r/ProRevenge landlord stole my sister's deposit, so I exposed their scam. The text from my sister came in at 2:47 a.m. *, he's keeping all of it. Every penny. I don't know what to do. *. I sat up in bed, instantly awake. Emma had moved out of her first apartment 3 days ago, and we'd been waiting to hear about her security deposit. $2,000, money she'd scraped together from her part-time barista job while finishing her nursing degree. Money she desperately needed for her new place. My phone buzzed again. * says I destroyed the carpet and broke the bathroom mirror. But I have photos from move-in showing everything was already damaged. He won't even look at them. *. I was already reaching for my laptop. Call me, I typed back. When her number lit up my screen 30 seconds later, I could hear she'd been crying. Jake, I documented everything when I moved in. I have timestamps, I have pictures. The carpet had stains, the mirror had a crack, even the paint was chipped in like 6 places. Did you submit those photos to him? I tried. He said the lease states all damage becomes the tenant's responsibility regardless of pre-existing condition. Her voice cracked. I read that lease so carefully, Jake. I swear that clause wasn't there when I signed. A cold anger started building in my chest. Emma had been so proud when she got that apartment. Our parents died in a car crash when she was 16, and I basically raised her since then. Watching her save every dollar, seeing her excitement about living independently for the first time, someone was stealing that from her. What's this guy's name again? Marcus Chen. Chen Property Management. She sniffled. Jake, I can't afford a lawyer. I looked it up and tenant law cases cost thousands, and even if I win, I might not recover the legal fees. My new place needs first month's rent by Friday or they're giving it to someone else. I was already pulling up property records. Don't worry about the money right now. I'll cover your new place if needed. I can't let you. Emma. I kept my voice calm even though I wanted to put my fist through the wall. Family takes care of family. But more importantly, this asshole isn't getting away with stealing from you. As we talked, I started digging. Chen Property Management had 18 rental properties across 3 neighborhoods, mostly targeting the area around the university. Perfect hunting ground for young tenants who didn't know their rights. Have you tried calling him again? He won't answer. Just keeps texting that the decision is final and the lease terms are clear. Another sniffle. I feel so stupid, Jake. I should have known it was too good to be true. The rent was like $200 below market rate. That stopped me cold. Below market rate rent wasn't generosity, it was bait. I pulled up the state tenant protection database and started cross-referencing Chen's properties with complaint filings. What I found made my blood boil. 17 formal complaints in the past 2 years. All young tenants. All involving withheld deposits for pre-existing damage and illegal lease modifications. The pattern was crystal clear, and I'd seen enough code to recognize a systematic operation when I saw one. Emma, listen to me. You're not stupid, and this isn't your fault. This guy is running a scam, and you just became his latest mark. I cracked my knuckles and opened a new browser window. But he picked the wrong family to mess with. What do you mean? I smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. I mean Marcus Chen has no idea what he's about to deal with. The first thing I did was create a secure folder on my encrypted drive. If I was going to take down Marcus Chen, I needed to be methodical about it. Sloppy revenge gets you sued or arrested. Smart revenge gets results. I spent the next 4 hours building a comprehensive profile. Property records, business licenses, previous addresses, social media accounts, financial filings, everything I could legally access. What emerged was a picture of a man who turned tenant exploitation into a science. Chen had purchased his first rental property 8 years ago, right after a wave of corporate layoffs hit the area. Cheap real estate, desperate young renters flooding the market, perfect timing for a predator. His business model was elegant in its simplicity: charge below market rent to attract tenants who couldn't afford better options, then manufacture reasons to steal their deposits when they moved out. The really sick part. He specifically targeted students and recent graduates. People who were already financially vulnerable and didn't know enough about tenant law to fight back effectively. By 6 a.m., I had a spreadsheet with the names and contact information for every complainant in the database. 17 people who tried to fight Chen through official channels and lost. But official channels were where Chen had the advantage. He knew the system, had lawyers on retainer, could outlast and outspend college kids. I was going to change the rules of the game. My phone rang at 7:30. Emma, sounding exhausted. I couldn't sleep, she said. I keep thinking about the money. Jake, I called my manager and asked for extra shifts, but even working doubles, it'll take me 3 months to save up another deposit. And that's assuming my new landlord will wait, which he won't. I told you, I'll cover. It's not just about the money anymore. Her voice was small. I feel so powerless. Like, I did everything right. I read the lease, I documented the damage, I was a perfect tenant. And it didn't matter. He's just going to steal from me and there's nothing I can do about it. That powerlessness in her voice, that was what pushed me over the edge. Emma had been through enough. Lost our parents, put herself through school, fought for every opportunity she'd gotten. She deserved better than some bottom feeder in a cheap suit stealing her dreams. Emma, I need you to forward me every text message, every email, every piece of documentation you have about this apartment. Why? Are you going to try to reason with him? Because I really don't think. I'm not going to reason with him. I'm going to destroy him. There was a pause. Jake, you're scaring me a little. Good. You should be scared. But not of me, of what happens to people who hurt my family. I pulled up my contact list, scrolling through names of former colleagues, law school friends, investigative journalists I'd met through work. Chen thinks he's untouchable because he preys on people who can't fight back. But he just made the mistake of targeting someone whose big brother has the skills, resources, and absolute lack of moral restraint necessary to burn his entire operation to the ground. What are you planning? I looked at my screen, at the growing pile of evidence, at the list of victims who deserve justice. Marcus Chen had built his little empire on the backs of kids like Emma. Time to introduce him to the concept of consequences. I'm planning to make him famous, I said. Very, very famous. The first complication hit me at 9 a.m. when I tried calling the number listed for Jennifer Walsh, the earliest complainant I could find in the database. The number had been disconnected. I tried 3 more names. 2 disconnected numbers and 1 that went to someone who'd never heard of Marcus Chen. Either these people had vanished, or Chen was better at covering his tracks than I'd initially thought. Strike 1. I pivoted to social media, searching for the complainants' names across Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. What I found was worse than dead phone numbers. I found silence. Posts that stopped abruptly, accounts that went dormant, digital footprints that just ended. That's when I found David Kim's LinkedIn profile. David had filed a complaint against Chen 18 months ago. According to the records, he'd lost a $1,500 deposit over alleged pet damage, despite never owning a pet. His LinkedIn showed he'd been a marketing coordinator at a local startup until about 6 months after his complaint was filed. Then nothing. No new job postings, no updates, no activity. I dug deeper and found a news article buried on page 12 of Google results. David Kim, 24, had filed for bankruptcy last year after a series of financial difficulties. The article was 3 sentences long, but it made my stomach drop. This wasn't just about security deposits. Chen was systematically destroying these kids' financial futures. My phone buzzed. Emma again. Asterisk, Jake, something weird happened. I was talking to my friend Sarah about the apartment stuff, and she got really quiet. Turns out her ex-boyfriend rented from Chen 2 years ago. She said he wouldn't talk about what happened, but he had to move back in with his parents and drop out of school. Asterisk. I stared at the text, pieces clicking into place. Chen wasn't just stealing deposits, he was targeting students specifically because financial disasters hit them harder. Miss a rent payment because your deposit got stolen. Credit score tanks. Can't get another apartment. Drop out of school. Can't finish your degree. Career prospects evaporate. He was weaponizing poverty. Asterisk, can you get his contact info? Asterisk, I typed back. Asterisk, I can try. But Jake. Sarah said he's not the same since whatever happened. Like, really messed up about it. Asterisk. That cold anger in my chest was turning into something uglier. I thought this was about money. It wasn't. This was about power, the power to destroy someone's entire future over a manufactured debt. I went back to the database and started looking at the complaints differently. Not just as legal filings, but as the moment these kids' lives changed forever. The timestamps told a story: complaint filed, case dismissed or abandoned, then months of silence in their digital footprints. Chen had perfected a system for breaking people. My laptop chimed with an email notification. I'd set up Google alerts for Chen's name, and something new had popped up. A forum post from 3 days ago, the same day Emma moved out. Asterisk, posted in r/legal advice, landlord claiming damage that was pre-existing, says lease makes me liable anyway. In Texas. Amount is $1,800. Is this legal? Asterisk. The post had been deleted, but Google had cached it. I clicked through to the original thread, but the user account was suspended. Another voice, silenced. But this time, I had a timestamp. This was happening in real time. I opened a new browser tab and started setting up monitoring scripts, automated searches that would flag any new posts about Chen property management across Reddit, Facebook groups, tenant forums, anywhere someone might reach out for help. If Chen was actively running this scam, there would be more victims. And this time, I'd get to them before they disappeared into bankruptcy and silence. My phone rang. Emma. Jake, I got the number. But. She paused. Sarah's really worried about me contacting him. She said whatever Chen did, it broke something in him. Like, he won't even drive past that neighborhood anymore. I saved the scripts and leaned back in my chair. Chen wasn't just stealing money. He was stealing futures, dreams, entire life trajectories. And he'd been doing it for years, protected by victims too traumatized to fight back. Give me the number, I said. It's time someone fought back. The call with Tyler Morrison, Sarah's ex-boyfriend, lasted exactly 4 minutes before he hung up on me. But those 4 minutes told me everything I needed to know about what Marcus Chen was really doing to these kids. I can't talk about this, Tyler had said, his voice shaky the moment I mentioned Chen's name. I signed something. I'm not supposed to. Look, just tell your sister to walk away. The money isn't worth it. Tyler, he stole her deposit using the same scam he used on you. We have documentation. You don't understand. The panic in his voice was real. It doesn't stop with the deposit. Once he targets you, he doesn't stop. I had to. I can't discuss this. I'm sorry. Click. Dial tone. I stared at my phone, processing what I'd just heard. Tyler had signed something, an NDA, probably. Which meant Chen wasn't just stealing deposits and disappearing. He was actively silencing his victims through legal intimidation. My laptop chimed. One of my monitoring scripts had triggered. New post on a local Facebook housing group, asterisk, warning about Marcus Chen/Chen property management, stole my roommate's deposit, now threatening legal action for additional damages. Anyone else dealt with this? Asterisk. The post was 12 minutes old. I screenshotted it and started typing a response, but before I could hit send, the post vanished. Deleted. I refreshed the page. The user's entire account was gone. That was impossible. Facebook doesn't delete accounts in 12 minutes over tenant disputes. But I'd watched it happen in real time. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma, asterisk, Jake, something's wrong. Chen just called me. He said he heard I was spreading lies about him and that I need to stop contacting his former tenants or he'll pursue additional legal remedies. Asterisk. Ice water ran down my spine. I'd called Tyler 20 minutes ago. Chen had contacted Emma 15 minutes ago. Someone was watching. Monitoring. Reporting back. I called Emma immediately. Did you tell anyone about me calling Tyler? Just Sarah, but she wouldn't. Jake, how did he even know? I never mentioned you were calling anyone. I was already pulling up Chen's business registration, looking for patterns I'd missed. Emma, I need you to do exactly what I say. Don't post anything about this online. Don't talk to anyone else about it. And if Chen contacts you again, don't respond, just forward everything to me. You're scaring me. Good. Because this is bigger than I thought. I found what I was looking for in Chen's corporate filings, a subsidiary company called Reputation Management Solutions, LLC. Same registered address, filed 6 months ago. Chen isn't just running a deposit scam. He's running a full-scale operation to silence anyone who tries to expose him. That's when I understood why David Kim's LinkedIn had gone dark, why Tyler sounded terrified, why complainants kept disappearing from the database. Chen had systematized victim intimidation the same way he'd systematized deposit theft. My second laptop chimed, another monitoring alert. This time it was a Reddit post in r/legal advice, posted 90 seconds ago, *TX landlord demanding $3,200 for damages that existed when I moved in, threatening to sue for additional costs if I dispute it. Family saying I should just pay to make it go away. I screenshotted everything and started a timer. If the pattern held, this post would be gone within minutes. I was right. 8 minutes later, deleted account. But this time, I'd been ready. I'd captured not just the post, but the IP metadata, posting history, everything I could pull before it vanished. The posting history told a story that made me sick. A 22-year-old college student named Alex, posting about job interviews, graduation plans, excitement about their first apartment. Then the landlord post. Then nothing. Another life about to be derailed. I looked at the phone number I'd extracted from Alex's posting history, a cell number they'd shared in a job search thread 3 weeks ago. I could call, try to warn them what was coming. Or I could do something smarter. I opened a new browser window and started typing code. If Chen wanted to play surveillance games, I'd show him what real monitoring looked like. But first, I needed to understand exactly how deep this operation went. My phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Jake Morrison? The voice was professional, cold. Who's asking? This is regarding your recent inquiries into certain rental properties. I think we should talk. The voice on the other end was smooth, practiced. The kind of tone that came from years of making problems disappear. My name is Robert Sterling. I represent Chen Property Management in certain, sensitive matters. I understand you've been reaching out to former tenants, asking questions that might be based on misunderstandings. I put the call on speaker and started recording. Misunderstandings about what? About the nature of standard lease agreements and tenant responsibilities. Your sister signed a contract, Mr. Morrison. The terms are clear. But I'm calling because Mr. Chen is a reasonable man. He's willing to work something out. What kind of something? A partial refund of the deposit. Say, 50%. In exchange, your sister signs a simple agreement acknowledging the matter is resolved, and you both agree to cease any further contact with Mr. Chen's other tenants. There it was. The same pattern Tyler had fallen into. Chen would steal everything, then offer back a fraction in exchange for silence and legal protection. Keep just enough to make it profitable, give back just enough to make victims think they'd won something. And if we refuse? Sterling's voice never changed. Well, that would be unfortunate. You see, Mr. Chen has been reviewing your sister's lease more carefully. It appears there may have been some unreported modifications to the apartment. Pet damage, perhaps. Unauthorized wall mounting. These things can get expensive quickly. My blood pressure spiked. She doesn't have pets. And she never mounted anything on the walls. Lease violations can be difficult to prove or disprove, Mr. Morrison. Especially when one party has professional documentation and the other has, well, cell phone pictures. A pause. Mr. Chen is prepared to pursue damages up to the full extent allowed by law. That could be quite substantial. This was how he did it. First, steal the deposit. Then, when anyone fought back, threaten additional manufactured damages. Keep escalating until the victim broke. How substantial are we talking about? The lease allows for recovery of damages, legal fees, and court costs. In contested cases, that often exceeds $5,000 to $6,000. Quite a burden for a young nurse just starting her career. The threat was crystal clear. Fight us, and we'll financially destroy your sister. I thought about Tyler's panic, David Kim's bankruptcy, all those deleted posts and disappeared voices. I'll need to discuss this with Emma, I said. Of course. But Mr. Morrison. Sterling's voice dropped just a degree. I should mention that Mr. Chen has become aware of some concerning online activity related to his business. Anonymous posts, harassment of former tenants, that sort of thing. If this escalates to defamation or cyberstalking, well, that becomes a criminal matter. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, mind racing. Chen's operation was even more sophisticated than I'd thought. He had a lawyer on retainer who specialized in intimidating victims into silence. He was monitoring online activity in real time. And he was prepared to escalate financial threats until people broke. But he just made a critical mistake. He'd threatened Emma directly, which moved this from professional curiosity to personal war. And more importantly, he'd shown me exactly how his system worked. I opened my laptop and pulled up the recording of Sterling's call. Every threat was documented now. Every illegal tactic was on record. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma, Jake, I just got a call from some lawyer. He's offering me half the deposit back if I sign something and promise not to harass Chen's other tenants. Should I take it? I looked at my screen, at the monitoring script still running, at the evidence folder growing larger by the hour. Chen thought he was dealing with another scared college kid who could be bought off with scraps. He was about to learn the difference between Emma Morrison and her big brother. Don't sign anything yet, I texted back. Asterisk, I think we can do better than 50%. Asterisk. Much, much better. I spent the next 6 hours doing what I do best, finding vulnerabilities in systems that people thought were bulletproof. By midnight, I had a complete picture of Marcus Chen's operation, and it was worse than anything I'd imagined. Chen wasn't just some small-time slumlord. His Reputation Management Solutions subsidiary had contracts with 3 other property management companies across the state. He was franchising his intimidation tactics, teaching other landlords how to systematically terrorize tenants into silence while staying just inside the legal gray areas. The really sick part. Sterling wasn't just Chen's lawyer, he was a partner in the Reputation Management Company. They'd turned tenant abuse into a scalable business model. But they'd also left digital fingerprints everywhere. Email servers, financial records, automated social media monitoring tools, all connected, all trackable, all probably not as secure as they thought. I was deep in the code of their monitoring system when my phone rang. Emma again, but this time she was whispering. Jake, someone's been watching my apartment. I sat up straight. What do you mean watching? There's this gray Honda that's been parked across the street for 3 hours. Same guy, just sitting there. When I looked out my window, he was taking pictures of my car. My blood turned to ice water. Emma, listen to me very carefully. Pack a bag right now. You're staying at my place tonight. Jake, you're being paranoid. No, I'm being realistic. I just spent 6 hours learning exactly how these people operate, and surveillance is part of their playbook. They're not just stealing money, they're gathering intelligence for future intimidation. I heard her moving around, drawers opening. This is insane. It's a security deposit, not the goddamn mafia. Emma, the difference between organized crime and what Chen is doing is that organized crime doesn't file tax returns. I was already grabbing my keys. I'm coming to get you. Stay away from the windows. 20 minutes later, I was parked behind her building, watching the gray Honda through my mirrors. Sure enough, middle-aged guy with a camera, documenting everyone who came and went. Professional surveillance. I called Emma. I'm at the back door. Bring your laptop too, I need to see every communication you've had with Chen. She slipped out carrying a duffel bag and her MacBook, looking spooked. The moment she got in my car, I could see how much this was affecting her. Dark circles under her eyes, hands shaking slightly. My little sister was being hunted, and it was destroying her. Jake, what if we're in over our heads? Maybe I should just take the 50% and sign their stupid agreement. I pulled out of the parking lot, taking a deliberately circuitous route to make sure we weren't followed. Emma, I found 17 other victims in just one afternoon. 17 kids whose lives got derailed because they tried to fight back and gave up when the pressure got too intense. You know what the average settlement was? She shook her head. 37%. And every single one of them had to sign NDAs prohibiting them from warning future victims. I turned onto my street, still checking mirrors. Chen's not offering you 50% because he's feeling generous. He's offering it because you're causing problems, and he wants you to disappear like all the others. But what if he escalates? That lawyer said they could sue for thousands more. They can threaten to sue. Actually winning is different. I pulled into my garage and hit the button to close the door behind us. Emma, I need you to trust me on this. I know you're scared, hell, I'm scared too. But running away now just guarantees the next kid gets hurt. She looked at me with those same eyes I remembered from when she was 16 and our world fell apart. What are you planning? I helped her carry her bag inside, my mind already racing ahead to the next phase. Chen thought he was dealing with another victim he could intimidate into submission. Instead, he just escalated a conflict with someone who had the skills, resources, and motivation to dismantle his entire operation piece by piece. I'm planning to give Mr. Chen and Mr. Sterling exactly what they deserve, I said. But first, we're going to make sure they can never do this to anyone else. The war was about to begin. The complications started multiplying at 3 a.m. when Emma's laptop chimed with a new email. We'd been going through her communications with Chen, building a timeline, when the notification popped up. Jake. Her voice was tight. You need to see this. The email wasn't from Chen or Sterling. It was from the property management company for her new apartment, the place she was supposed to move into in 3 days. Asterisk, Dear Ms. Morrison, we regret to inform you that we've received concerning information regarding your rental history and current legal disputes. Per our lease agreement section 12.3, we must withdraw our rental offer effective immediately. Your deposit will be refunded within 7 to 10 business days. Asterisk. Emma stared at the screen, her face going pale. How is this possible? I haven't even moved in yet. And what legal disputes? I never sued anyone. I felt that familiar ice-cold anger building again. They're burning down your future before you even have a chance to fight back. I pulled up the property management company's website. Let me guess, Meridian Property Solutions. She nodded, confused. They're listed as a strategic partner on Chen's business registration. I showed her the corporate filing. This isn't coincidence, Emma. This is systematic destruction. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number, asterisk, having trouble finding new housing. Maybe it's time to reconsider our generous offer. Clock's ticking. RS. Asterisk. Sterling. Somehow he'd found out about Emma's lease cancellation before we had. They're monitoring everything, I muttered, checking the timestamp. The lease cancellation email was sent at 3:07 a.m. Sterling's text came through at 3:12. They've got real-time alerts set up. Emma was scrolling through rental websites on her phone, her movements getting more frantic. Jake, look at this. I applied to 4 backup places last week. They all just updated their listings to no longer available. I looked over her shoulder. 4 different apartments, all suddenly off the market in the past 6 hours. All from companies I'd seen connected to Chen's network. They're blacklisting you across their entire system, I realized. This isn't just about the deposit anymore. They're making sure you can't find housing anywhere in the city. Emma's hands were shaking now. I have to be out of my current place in 3 days. If I can't find somewhere to live, I'll have to move back to Austin with Aunt Carol. The hospital already offered me the nursing position here, I can't just disappear to another city. I watched my sister's career, her independence, her entire carefully planned future crumbling in real time. This was exactly what happened to Tyler, to David Kim, to all the others. The financial pressure wasn't just about money, it was about forcing life-altering decisions under extreme stress. My laptop chimed with another monitoring alert. Someone new was posting about Chin Property Management, but this time on a platform I hadn't seen before, a private tenant advocacy forum that required verification to join. The post made my blood run cold, Chin PMGT escalation protocol activated on E. Morrison. Coordinating with Meridian, Skyline, and Westbrook Properties for housing denial. Subject has family member conducting electronic surveillance, recommend enhanced countermeasures. Sterling handling legal intimidation phase. They had protocols. Escalation procedures. This was a machine designed to destroy people who fought back, and Emma had just become their active target. Worse, they knew about my electronic surveillance. Which meant they were monitoring more than just social media posts. They had to have access to rental applications, credit checks, maybe even email traffic. I screenshotted the post before it could be deleted, but the damage was already done. Chen's network was bigger than I'd thought, more sophisticated, and they were treating Emma like a threat that needed to be neutralized. My phone rang. Sterling again. Mr. Morrison, I trust you've seen how quickly situations can deteriorate when people make poor choices. Your sister's housing situation seems to be becoming quite precarious. You son of a... Now. I'm calling with good news. Mr. Chen is prepared to increase his offer to 75% of the original deposit. And I'm authorized to make some calls that might help your sister's housing difficulties resolve themselves. I looked at Emma, watching her scroll desperately through rental listings that were disappearing faster than she could apply to them. They weren't just stealing her money, they were engineering a crisis that would force her to abandon her entire life in this city. What's the catch? No catch. Just a slightly more comprehensive non-disclosure agreement. Your sister signs, you both disappear, and everyone moves on with their lives. Sterling's voice was smooth as silk. But Mr. Morrison, this offer expires at noon tomorrow. After that, well, I imagine your sister's housing situation will become even more challenging. The line went dead. I looked at the clock, 3:47 a.m. 8 hours to decide between Emma's future and total surrender. They just made their biggest mistake yet. I stared at my phone screen after Sterling hung up, my mind racing through possibilities. 8 hours wasn't much time, but it might be enough if I played this right. Emma, I need you to do something that's going to sound crazy. She looked up from her laptop, exhausted and defeated. At this point, crazy might be our only option. I want you to call Sterling back in the morning and tell him you're ready to take the deal. What? She sat up straight. Jake, I thought you said. I said don't sign anything yet. But we need to buy time, and more importantly, we need to get them overconfident. I pulled up my monitoring scripts, checking for new activity. They think they've broken you down, backed you into a corner with no options. Let them think that. But what if they actually follow through? What if I sign something and then we can't? You're not going to sign anything. You're going to schedule a meeting to sign something. I opened a new terminal window and started typing commands. Meanwhile, I'm going to use that meeting to do something they won't expect. My first monitoring script chimed. Another victim, posting in real time about Chin Property Management. This one was different though, the poster wasn't asking for legal advice. They were asking about other people who've dealt with this scam. I clicked through to the user profile. Sarah Chin, no relation to Marcus, just an unfortunate coincidence. A 23-year-old graphic designer who'd been documenting her entire interaction with Chen's company in a private blog. Unlike the other victims, she hadn't been scared into silence yet. More importantly, she was angry. Her latest post was timestamped 20 minutes ago, day 12 of trying to get my deposit back. They've escalated to claiming I caused structural damage to a bathroom that was already falling apart. Now they want $4,200 for repairs. I'm done being polite. If they want to play games, let's play games. I looked at her posting history. This wasn't some scared college kid who'd fold under pressure. Sarah had been researching tenant law, documenting everything, building a case. She was exactly what I needed. I sent her a private message, I saw your posts about Chin Property Management. My sister is dealing with the same scam. They're using intimidation tactics to silence victims. Want to compare notes? The response came back in less than 5 minutes, holy shit, yes. I was starting to think I was the only one. Are you free to talk? I called the number she sent. Sarah picked up on the first ring. Thank God, she said without preamble. I was starting to feel like I was going insane. They've been calling my references, my employer, even my fucking dentist asking about character references for some bullshit legal proceeding. They called your dentist. Apparently trying to establish a pattern of poor maintenance habits that would support their damage claims. It's psychological warfare disguised as a civil dispute. Her voice was tight with anger. But here's the thing, I work in digital marketing. I know how to track online behavior, and I've been documenting everything they do. This was exactly what I'd hoped for. Sarah, what if I told you I found 17 other victims, and that Chen has a whole subsidiary company dedicated to intimidating people into silence? I'd say that sounds like a conspiracy that needs to be exposed. I could hear her typing in the background. Send me what you have. I'll send you what I have. Let's see how deep this rabbit hole goes. As I compiled files to send Sarah, Emma grabbed my arm. Jake, look at this. She was pointing at her email. A new message from Chin Property Management, sent directly to her personal account, an email address she'd never given them. Ms. Morrison, we understand you may be reconsidering our generous offer. To help facilitate your decision, we've prepared additional documentation regarding the property damage assessment. Please review the attached photos and invoices, keeping in mind that disputed claims often require extensive professional litigation. Asterisk. The attachments were fabricated damage photos and fake contractor invoices totaling $6,400. But that wasn't what made my blood run cold. The photos were taken inside Emma's current apartment, the one she was supposed to move out of in 3 days. Pictures of her bedroom, her bathroom, her personal belongings. Someone had been inside her apartment while we were at my place. I stared at the photos on Emma's laptop screen, my hands clenching into fists. The images were taken from inside her apartment, clear shots of manufactured damage that definitely hadn't existed when we left 6 hours ago. Fresh scratches gouged into her hardwood floors. A crack running down her bathroom mirror that perfectly matched the pre-existing damage from her previous apartment. Even burn marks on her kitchen counter that looked suspiciously identical to photos I'd seen in Chen's other fabricated damage claims. They were in my apartment, Emma whispered, her voice hollow. While we were here, they broke in and destroyed my stuff to create evidence. I was already dialing 911 when my phone buzzed with another text from Sterling. Asterisk, breaking and entering is a serious accusation, Mr. Morrison. I hope you have evidence. Security cameras can be so unreliable, especially when maintenance needs access for emergency repairs. Check your sister's lease section 8.4. Asterisk. Emma pulled up her lease on her phone. Section 8.4, property management reserves right to emergency access for repairs, safety inspections, or damage assessment with 24-hour notice via phone or digital communication. They sent me a voicemail at 2 a.m., she realized, checking her messages. While we were going through my laptop. Emergency water damage inspection due to reports from neighboring unit. The 911 operator picked up, but before I could speak, my laptop chimed with an urgent alert. Sarah had sent me something that made the break-in look like amateur hour. Asterisk, Jake, you need to see this now. I found Chen's real operation. Asterisk. Her message included a link to a private forum hidden behind multiple proxies. The page that loaded made my stomach drop. It was a marketplace. But instead of selling products, they were selling detailed profiles of problem tenants. Emma's information was already posted, full name, social security number, employment history, family connections, even psychological assessments based on her communication patterns. The listing was titled, Morrison, Emma, Escalation Level 3, Family Support Network Requires Neutralization. Below that, a bidding system where other property management companies could purchase her profile to coordinate blacklisting efforts. Current bid, $3,200. Jesus Christ, I breathed. Emma, they're not just targeting you. They're selling your information to other landlords across the entire state. Emma looked over my shoulder and went pale. That's my social security number. How did they even get that? I scrolled down to see the bidding history. 12 different property management companies across Texas had placed bids on Emma's profile. They weren't just trying to force her out of our city, they were making sure she couldn't rent anywhere in the state. But the really sick part was the comments section below the listing. Other landlords sharing tactics that had worked on similar, difficult tenants. Psychological pressure points. Financial stress techniques. Even recommendations for friendly lawyers who specialized in intimidation. My phone rang. The 911 operator, still waiting. I need to report a break-in, I told her, but my mind was racing ahead. Chen's operation wasn't just sophisticated, it was a whole underground economy built on destroying people who fought back. Jake, Emma said quietly, pointing to another section of the forum. Look at this. A subforum titled Success Stories contained dozens of posts from landlords describing how they'd successfully resolved problem tenants. The details were horrifying, students forced to drop out, young professionals driven to bankruptcy, families broken apart by engineered financial crises. At the top of the forum, a pinned post from Marcus Chen himself, remember, the goal isn't just profit, it's deterrence. Every tenant who fights back and loses sends a message to 10 others who won't even try. We're not just managing properties, we're managing behavior. Emma grabbed my arm. Jake, there are hundreds of these posts. They're doing this to hundreds of people. That's when I understood the true scope of what we were dealing with. This wasn't just about Emma's deposit, or even Chen's rental empire. This was a systematic network of predators who turned tenant abuse into a scalable business model. And they'd just made the mistake of targeting someone whose big brother had the technical skills to bring their entire operation crashing down. I looked at Emma, seeing the fear in her eyes, but also something else, the same determination that had gotten her through nursing school after our parents died. Emma, I said, how do you feel about helping me commit some very creative acts of digital justice? For the first time in days, she smiled. The police took 47 minutes to arrive, which gave us just enough time to discover that Chen's network was even more invasive than we thought. While Emma gave her statement about the break-in, I kept digging through the forums Sarah had found, and what I uncovered made my blood pressure spike. They weren't just sharing tenant profiles, they were coordinating with credit agencies. Buried in a subsection titled Financial Leverage, I found detailed instructions for manipulating credit reports. Chen's network had contacts inside 3 major credit bureaus who would flag problem tenants for additional scrutiny, delayed dispute resolution, and strategic reporting errors that would tank credit scores just when people needed them most. Emma's credit report had already been marked. A notation dated this morning, subject to ongoing civil disputes, recommend enhanced verification for future rental applications. This is insane, I muttered, screenshotting everything before it could disappear. They're not just blacklisting you from apartments, they're sabotaging your credit to make sure you can't qualify for anything. Emma looked up from talking to the police officer. What? I showed her the screen. Her face went white. Jake, I need good credit for everything, car loans, professional licensing, even some nursing positions run credit checks. They're trying to destroy my entire financial future. The officer taking her statement looked confused. Ma'am, are you saying this is related to the break-in? Before Emma could answer, my phone buzzed with a call from Sarah. Jake, we have a problem, she said without preamble. I just got served with a cease and desist order. Apparently I'm interfering with legitimate business operations by sharing information about Chen's company. Served by who? Some law firm I've never heard of. But here's the weird part, they serve papers at my work, at my gym, and at my parents' house simultaneously. Like they had teams of process servers ready to go. I felt the walls closing in. Sarah, they're escalating on multiple fronts. They broke into Emma's apartment, they're manipulating her credit report, and now they're trying to legally silence you. There's more. I just checked my bank account. Someone initiated a dispute on my last freelance payment, claiming I breached contract terms. It's frozen $3,400 of my income. Emma finished with a police officer, who handed her a case number and explained that without clear evidence of forced entry, the break-in would be hard to prosecute. The photos show damage, he said, but if they had legal access per your lease terms, it becomes a civil matter. After he left, Emma slumped onto my couch. They're everywhere, Jake. It's like fighting shadows. My laptop chimed. Another monitoring alert, but this one was different. Someone had posted about Chen property management on a major news outlet's anonymous tip forum. The post was from someone calling themselves, former employee 2019, I used to work for Chen property management. What they're doing to tenants is criminal. I have documents proving the systematic fraud, but I signed an NDA when I left. Looking for other former employees or victims willing to speak on record. I stared at the post timestamp. Uploaded 3 minutes ago. Emma, look at this. Someone from inside Chen's organization wants to talk. She read over my shoulder. Could be a trap. They seem to know everything else we're doing. She wasn't wrong. But as I watched, replies started appearing from other anonymous accounts. Former maintenance workers. Ex-employees from partner companies. People who'd been part of the machine and wanted out. Within 15 minutes, the thread had 17 responses from people claiming inside knowledge of Chen's operation. Real names, employee ID numbers, specific details about fabricated damage procedures. Then, as I watched, the entire thread vanished. Not just deleted, the whole forum section disappeared like it had never existed. But I'd been screenshotting frantically. And more importantly, I'd captured something Sterling and Chen didn't know about. The forum's backend had logged IP addresses for all the anonymous posts. Including one that traced back to a government server. Someone inside the state attorney general's office was watching Chen's operation. My phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Jake Morrison? The voice was female, professional. Who's asking? Detective Lisa Rodriguez, Financial Crimes Division. I understand you've been gathering information about certain property management practices. I think we should meet. I looked at Emma, whose eyes had gone wide. When? I asked. How about now? Time might be more limited than you think. I stared at my phone, Detective Rodriguez's words echoing in my head. Time might be more limited than you think, that wasn't the kind of thing cops said when they were just gathering routine information. Detective, are you saying Emma and I are in some kind of immediate danger? I'm saying Marcus Chen's operation has been flagged by multiple state agencies, and when rats know the ship is sinking, they tend to get desperate. Her voice dropped. How soon can you get to the downtown precinct? Emma was already grabbing her jacket. We can be there in 20 minutes. Good. And Mr. Morrison? Bring everything you've collected. All of it. The line went dead. I looked at Emma, who was checking the locks on my front door for the third time since the police had left. Jake, what if this is another trap? What if Sterling has people inside the police department too? I considered it. Given the scope of Chen's network, corruption wasn't impossible. But the alternative was sitting here waiting for them to escalate further, and after seeing Emma's apartment destroyed, I wasn't willing to risk what escalation might look like. We're going, I decided. But we're taking precautions. I encrypted everything I'd collected and uploaded it to 3 separate cloud servers with deadman switches. If anything happened to us, the files would automatically release to every major news outlet in Texas. Then I sent Sarah a coded message with access instructions, disguised as a response to a fake work email. We were halfway to the police station when Emma's phone started buzzing with notifications. Jake, something's happening. She was scrolling frantically. My social media accounts are going crazy. I glanced over. Her phone screen was filled with notifications, comments, tags, messages. What kind of crazy? People are posting on my Facebook that I owe them money. My Instagram is getting flooded with comments about me being a scammer and a deadbeat. Someone even posted on my LinkedIn that I'm under investigation for fraud. My stomach dropped. They're nuking your digital reputation in real time. Emma's voice was getting panicked. Jake, my nursing program coordinator just called. She's getting calls from people claiming I cheated in school, that my clinical evaluations were falsified. They want to review my entire academic record. I pulled over and grabbed her phone. The coordinated attack was surgical in its precision. Fake accounts were posting identical accusations across every platform, all designed to destroy her professional credibility. But worse than that, they were targeting her specific vulnerabilities, her nursing career, her academic achievements, everything she'd worked for. They're trying to preemptively discredit you, I realized. If you become a witness against them, they want to make sure no one believes your testimony. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, check the local news. I pulled up Channel 8's website on my phone. The headline made my blood freeze. Local nursing student under investigation for rental fraud scheme. The article was already live, complete with Emma's photo from her LinkedIn profile. It described an ongoing investigation into a complex fraud scheme involving falsified damage reports and fraudulent insurance claims. Emma was portrayed as the mastermind, targeting hardworking local property managers. This is impossible, Emma whispered, reading over my shoulder. This article says I've been doing this for months. It has quotes from other landlords I've never even met. I scrolled down to see the byline. The article was written by Jennifer Walsh, the same Jennifer Walsh who'd filed one of the first complaints against Chen Property Management, the one whose phone number had been disconnected. They didn't just silence their victims, I breathed. They turned them into accomplices. Emma's phone rang. Her nursing program coordinator. Emma, I need you to come in immediately, the woman said, her voice cold. We've received some very serious allegations that need to be addressed. Until this is resolved, you're suspended from all clinical rotations. Emma hung up, tears starting to flow. Jake, they're destroying everything I've worked for. 4 years of nursing school, gone. My job at the hospital, probably gone. And we haven't even met with the detective yet. I started the car again, my mind racing. Chen's network wasn't just sophisticated, it was fast. Too fast. They'd orchestrated a complete character assassination in less than 2 hours, which meant they'd had contingency plans ready to deploy the moment we became a real threat. Emma, whatever Detective Rodriguez wants to tell us, it better be good. Because I think we're about to find out just how deep this conspiracy goes. As we pulled into the police station parking lot, I noticed 3 news vans already setting up. Somehow, the media had been tipped off about our meeting before we'd even arrived. Chen's network was always one step ahead. But they'd just made their biggest mistake yet, they'd pushed Emma past her breaking point. And they were about to learn that the Morrison family didn't break quietly. Detective Rodriguez met us at a side entrance, away from the news vans. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe early 30s, with the kind of sharp eyes that missed nothing. The media circus isn't coincidence, she said without preamble, leading us through a maze of corridors. Someone called in anonymous tips to 3 different stations claiming you'd be here to confess to fraud charges. Emma's face went pale. But we're the victims here. I know. That's why we're meeting in an interview room that isn't connected to our main recording system. Rodriguez stopped at an unmarked door. What I'm about to tell you doesn't officially exist yet. Inside the room, she spread out a collection of files that made my evidence folder look amateur. Bank records, corporate filings, surveillance photos, and what looked like years of investigation materials. Chen Property Management has been under federal investigation for 18 months, Rodriguez began. Mail fraud, wire fraud, racketeering, conspiracy, the works. But every time we get close to building a case, witnesses disappear or recant their testimony. I leaned forward. Because of the intimidation network. Exactly. And it's bigger than you think. She pulled out an organizational chart that looked like a crime family tree. Chen's operation spans 4 states. 63 shell companies, relationships with 12 credit agencies, and coordinated blacklisting networks affecting over 300,000 rental units. Emma stared at the chart. 300,000. Your brother stumbled onto the tip of the iceberg. This isn't just about security deposits, it's about controlling housing access for an entire demographic. Young adults, students, first-time renters. They've essentially created a parallel rental market where they can extract money and manipulate people's lives at will. Rodriguez pulled out another file, this one marked with federal seals. But here's what Chen doesn't know. 6 months ago, one of his former employees, someone high up in the organization, reached out to federal authorities. We've been building a RICO case ever since. My heart started racing. So why do you need us? Because Chen's people just accelerated their timeline. The coordinated attack on your sister, the character assassination, the media manipulation, these are actions of an organization that knows it's about to be exposed. Rodriguez looked directly at Emma. They're trying to eliminate threats before federal agents execute search warrants. When? I asked. Tomorrow morning. Simultaneous raids on Chen's offices, Sterling's law firm, and 6 partner companies across the state. Rodriguez's expression was grim. But Chen has inside information somehow. 3 of our planned targets have already cleared out their offices and destroyed records. Emma grabbed my arm. Jake, that means they know about the raids. Which brings me to why you're here, Rodriguez continued. We need you to help us catch Chen in the act of destroying evidence. But it means putting yourselves at significant risk. She slid a document across the table. We want Emma to call Sterling back and agree to sign the settlement agreement. But we'll wire you for sound and video. When they inevitably try to pressure you into signing additional documents or making statements that could be used against other victims, we'll have them on federal charges. I looked at the consent form, my mind racing through the implications. What kind of risk are we talking about? Chen's organization has shown they're willing to break into apartments, manipulate credit reports, and coordinate character assassination campaigns. If they realize Emma is working with law enforcement. Rodriguez didn't finish the sentence. Emma was quiet for a long moment, staring at the organizational chart. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady but cold. How many other people like me are on that chart? 417 confirmed victims over the past 3 years. Emma picked up the pen. Where do I sign? Rodriguez smiled grimly. Just so you know, after tomorrow morning, Marcus Chen and Robert Sterling are going to wish they'd never heard the name Morrison. As Emma signed the consent form, my phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Sarah, Jake, Chen's people are at my apartment right now. Don't come home. The message from Sarah made my blood run cold. I showed it to Rodriguez, who immediately grabbed her radio. This is Rodriguez. I need units dispatched to. She looked at me. What's Sarah's address? I rattled off the information while typing back to Sarah, are you safe? Where are you now? Her response came back in fragments, hiding in neighbor's apartment. They're going through everything. Taking computers, files. How did they know I was helping you? Rodriguez was coordinating with dispatch when Emma grabbed my shoulder. Jake, if they're at Sarah's place, they might be at yours too. Before I could respond, my phone started buzzing with notifications from my home security system. Motion alerts, door sensors, camera feeds showing figures moving through my house with professional efficiency. They weren't just searching, they were installing something. Detective, I said, showing her my phone screen. They're in my house right now. Rodriguez looked at the feeds and swore under her breath. That's not random searching. They're placing surveillance equipment. She grabbed her radio again. Control, I need immediate backup units at both locations. Possible BNE in progress. Emma was scrolling through her own phone, her face growing pale. Jake, they're everywhere. My apartment building, your house, Sarah's place. It's like they have teams standing by. Because they do, Rodriguez said grimly. This is what a criminal organization looks like when it knows law enforcement is closing in. They're trying to control every piece of the narrative before tomorrow's raids. My security cameras caught something that made my stomach drop. One of the figures in my house was holding what looked like evidence bags, but they were putting things in, not taking them out. Planting evidence. They're setting us up, I realized. Whatever they're planting in my house, it's going to support the fraud allegations against Emma. Rodriguez studied the camera feed. Can you access your system remotely? Record everything they're doing. I was already pulling up the controls. Better than that. I can activate audio recording and live stream everything to encrypted servers. My fingers flew across the screen. If they want to frame us, they're going to do it on camera. The audio kicked in just in time to catch one of the intruders speaking into a radio. Package Alpha is in place. Bedroom closet, behind the tax documents. Package Beta goes in a computer desk, inside the warranty folder. Emma leaned closer to listen. Package Alpha. Package Beta. Evidence, Rodriguez said darkly. Probably fabricated documents that make you look like you've been running rental scams. When they discover this stuff during their investigation, it'll corroborate their fraud narrative. Another voice crackled through the audio. Sterling wants confirmation on timeline. How long until local PD arrives? 15 minutes. We'll be clear in 10. Rodriguez grabbed her radio. Control, expedite those units. Suspects are monitoring police response times. I kept recording, capturing every word as Chen's people systematically planted evidence throughout my house. Financial documents with Emma's forged signature. Fake correspondence with other landlords. Even printed emails discussing rental scam strategies. This is incredibly sophisticated, I muttered, watching them work. They have forged documents ready to go, they're monitoring police radio frequencies, and they know exactly where to hide everything for maximum impact. Emma was quiet for a moment, then looked up at Rodriguez. Detective, what happens if they succeed? What if their planted evidence convinces people that Jake and I really are the criminals here? Rodriguez met her gaze. Then Chen's organization stays in business, 400 victims never get justice, and tomorrow's raids find nothing but empty offices and destroyed files. My phone chimed with another message from Sarah, Jake, they left, but I heard them talking. Something about Phase 2 starting at midnight tonight. They mentioned Emma specifically. I showed the message to Rodriguez, who checked her watch. 9:47 p.m. 2 hours and 13 minutes, she said. Whatever Phase 2 is, we need to be ready for it. Emma signed the last page of the consent form and looked up at us with determination I hadn't seen since she decided to become a nurse after our parents died. Detective Rodriguez, what time do you need me to call Sterling? Emma, I started, if they're escalating this fast, maybe we should. No. Her voice was quiet but absolute. Jake, they're not just stealing money. They're stealing futures. Dreams. Everything people work for. She gestured at the organizational chart. 417 people, and we're the first ones who've gotten this close to stopping them. Rodriguez nodded approvingly. We'll have you call Sterling at 7 a.m. Tell him you want to sign immediately, before any more damage is done. The meeting will be at his office at 9 a.m. And then? Emma asked. Then we end Marcus Chen's empire once and for all. The complications started before we even made it home from the police station. Emma's phone rang at 11:23 p.m. Sterling, 3 hours ahead of schedule. Ms. Morrison, I hope I'm not calling too late, his voice oozed false concern through the speaker. But I've just received some very disturbing information about your family's activities tonight. Emma looked at me, panic flashing in her eyes. We were supposed to call him in the morning, not field surprise calls when he already knew we'd been talking to police. I'm not sure what you mean, Emma managed. Police reports, Ms. Morrison. Break-ins, harassment of business associates, and some rather concerning allegations about fabricated evidence. Sterling's tone shifted, becoming colder. It seems your situation has become far more complex than a simple security deposit dispute. My mind raced. How could he know about our meeting with Rodriguez? The detective had specifically said we'd used an unmonitored room. Mr. Sterling, I just want this resolved. Of course you do. Which is why I'm calling with a final offer. We're prepared to return your full deposit, plus an additional $1,000 for your inconvenience. All we need is for you and your brother to sign some additional documentation. Emma mouthed, what do I say, at me. This wasn't the script Rodriguez had prepared us for. What kind of additional documentation? Nothing onerous. Just acknowledgments that certain claims made against Mr. Chen's business were based on misunderstandings. And perhaps some clarification about your own rental history with other properties. My blood went cold. They wanted Emma to sign statements that would retroactively justify their attacks on other victims. Make it look like the complaints against Chen were all based on tenant fraud. I'd need to review any documents before signing, Emma said carefully. Naturally. Which is why I'd like to move our meeting to tonight. Say, midnight. I know it's late, but given the rapidly evolving circumstances, time seems to be of the essence. Midnight. Exactly when Sarah had said Phase 2 would begin. Tonight seems rushed. Ms. Morrison, I'll be frank with you. Certain federal agencies have been making inquiries about Mr. Chen's business practices. If this matter isn't resolved before those investigations become more formal, I'm afraid we won't be able to offer such generous terms. He knew about the raids. Somehow, Chen's network had inside information about tomorrow's federal operation. Can we meet at your office? Emma asked. Actually, given the sensitive nature of these documents, I think a more private location would be appropriate. Are you familiar with the Riverside Warehouse District? There's a 24-hour business center at 1247 Industrial Boulevard. Every instinct I had screamed that this was a trap. A warehouse district at midnight, moving the meeting location at the last minute, pushing for signatures before federal raids that Sterling shouldn't know about. I'll need to bring my brother, Emma said. Of course. Family support is important during stressful times. Sterling's voice took on an almost mocking tone. Oh, and Ms. Morrison. I should mention that we've recently discovered some irregularities in your rental applications with other properties. Credit discrepancies, reference inconsistencies. It would be unfortunate if those issues became public before you begin your nursing career. The threat was crystal clear. Sign what we want, or we'll destroy your professional future before it starts. Emma looked at me with fear and determination warring in her expression. We'll be there. Excellent. Midnight sharp. And Ms. Morrison. Come alone, just you and your brother. Additional parties would make the documentation process much more complicated. The line went dead. I immediately called Rodriguez, but it went straight to voicemail. My second call, to her direct line, got a busy signal. Emma was already grabbing her jacket. They know about the raids, Jake. They're trying to get us to sign something before federal agents can stop them. I looked at the clock, 11:31 p.m. 29 minutes to decide whether to walk into what was obviously a trap, or let Chen's network escape justice along with 400 other victims. My phone buzzed with one final message from an unknown number, *, Phase 2 is Emma's last chance to disappear quietly. After midnight, there won't be any more generous offers. *. I stared at the threatening text, my mind crystallizing around a single, dangerous idea. Chen's people thought they were herding us into a trap, but they just made a critical error. They were so focused on silencing Emma that they'd forgotten who they were really dealing with. Emma, call Rodriguez again. Keep trying until you reach her. Jake, what are you thinking? I was already pulling up the warehouse location on my laptop, cross-referencing it with city databases. I'm thinking that Marcus Chen is about to learn the difference between intimidating college kids and going to war with someone who has nothing left to lose. The warehouse was registered to one of Chen's shell companies, purchased 6 months ago. Security cameras, controlled access, isolated location, perfect for making problems disappear. But it was also a single point of failure for their entire operation. Found Rodriguez. Emma said. She's on her way to backup location. The main precinct was compromised, someone leaked our meeting. I connected to Rodriguez's emergency line. Detective, they moved the timeline. Midnight meeting, warehouse location, and they know about tomorrow's raids. Absolutely not, Rodriguez said immediately. Do not go to that location. We'll execute the raids tonight instead. With what evidence? They've had 18 hours to destroy everything. I pulled up my monitoring software. But detective, what if we could get them to incriminate themselves on federal recording equipment? Make them think they've won. There was silence on the line. Jake, they're expecting us in 15 minutes, Emma said, checking her phone. Detective Rodriguez, how long would you need to get federal agents positioned around that warehouse? 20 minutes, minimum. I looked at Emma, seeing the same determination that had carried her through nursing school and everything else life had thrown at us. Then we buy you 20 minutes. Morrison, this is incredibly dangerous. So is letting 400 victims never get justice. I started encrypting our evidence files with automatic release triggers. Emma and I are going to that warehouse. We're going to let Sterling and Chen think they've trapped us. And we're going to get them to confess everything while federal agents record every word. Emma was already putting on her jacket. Jake's right. We end this tonight. I grabbed my keys, my mind already running through the plan. Detective, we'll stall for 20 minutes, then give you probable cause for immediate federal intervention. How? By making them desperate enough to drop their masks completely. The warehouse district was exactly as isolated as I'd expected. Single access road, no witnesses, perfect for whatever Chen's people had planned. But isolation worked both ways. Emma and I sat in a car outside 1247 Industrial Boulevard, watching Sterling's Mercedes pull up alongside 2 other vehicles. Through my phone, Rodriguez confirmed that federal agents were moving into position. You sure about this? Emma asked. I thought about Tyler's broken voice, David Kim's bankruptcy, Sarah hiding in her neighbor's apartment. 417 victims who'd been systematically destroyed by predators who thought themselves untouchable. I'm sure. We walked into the warehouse together. Sterling was waiting with Marcus Chen and 2 other men who looked like private security. The space was set up like a conference room, complete with cameras and recording equipment. Ms. Morrison, Mr. Morrison, Sterling smiled. Thank you for being so accommodating with the timing. Chen stepped forward, his confidence absolute. I trust you understand the gravity of your situation. Federal investigations can be redirected when the right documentation exists. What kind of documentation? Emma asked. Sterling slid a thick folder across the table. Confessions, essentially. Admissions that you've been running rental fraud schemes, targeting honest property managers like Mr. Chen. Sign these, and the federal investigation shifts focus to you instead of us. I flipped through the documents, rage building. They weren't just demanding Emma's silence, they wanted her to become the scapegoat for their entire operation. And if we refuse? Chen's mask dropped completely. Then you disappear tonight, and these signed confessions are found in your apartment tomorrow. Either way, the heat comes off my operation. You're admitting to systematically defrauding tenants? I asked loudly, knowing the federal recording equipment would catch every word. I'm admitting to being smarter than a bunch of college kids who think they can fight the system, Chen snarled. Do you have any idea how many people like your sister I've destroyed? How many futures I've stolen? And no one can touch me because I control the narrative. Emma looked up from the documents. 417 victims. Try 800. The federal database only caught the ones stupid enough to file official complaints. Chen was practically gloating now. I own credit agencies, property management companies across 4 states, even judges who owe me favors. Your little investigation was amusing, but it ends tonight. Sterling checked his watch. Mr. Chen, perhaps we should. Should what? They're already finished. Chen pulled out his phone. I have photos of evidence planted in their apartment, documentation of their fraud schemes, and by tomorrow morning, Emma Morrison will be facing federal charges while we disappear to Costa Rica. The warehouse doors burst open. Federal agents. Nobody move. Rodriguez entered with 8 federal agents, weapons drawn, recording equipment visible. Chen's face went white as he realized what had happened. You were recording this entire conversation. Every word, Rodriguez confirmed. Marcus Chen, Robert Sterling, you're under arrest for racketeering, mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, and about 20 other federal charges we'll discuss downtown. As federal agents handcuffed Chen and Sterling, Emma grabbed my hand. Is it over? She whispered. Rodriguez approached us as the arrests continued. The federal investigation netted 63 shell companies, frozen $12 million in assets, and we have signed confessions from 14 former employees. Chen's entire network is finished. 6 months later, Emma got her full security deposit back, along with a settlement check for $847,000 from the class action lawsuit representing all of Chen's victims. Marcus Chen was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. Sterling got 12. The nursing program not only reinstated Emma but gave her a commendation for public service. She starts her dream job at Children's Hospital next week. And sometimes, late at night, I still get messages from young tenants who found our story online. People who refuse to be victims because they learned that fighting back was possible. Some wars are worth fighting. Especially when your little sister's future is on the line.